Okay, so here's the second session. This is mainly geared toward for the Canadian market. As you can see, I'm looking at right now at XIU. XIU has been having some sort of a good start and very nice bounce coming from somewhere here, which was a very good sign for going higher. The key levels I would be watching for 2350. Anything below that would be a sign that the ETF is more inclined to go lower than higher. So I would be watching for that. To the upside, because we have to be very positive or positive, I would be looking at 2355, actually more precisely 56 for anything promising for the future. One more thing I need to mention, 2366 to 6566, where I think there was a little bit of a positive thing for this particular stock. And so that was the level where a large volume of stocks or ETFs, to be more precise, exchanged hands. Next one on the line is BTO. I think this is actually started to look kind of promising. $8 level was relatively large volume print. So if I were to risk any money and I wanted to get in to the gold space, this will be right here something I would be interested in getting into. The next level you need to be watching for is probably around here, the 805, 806, especially 806. I think that was a large volume of stocks were actually getting into this particular stock. A small volume player, and it has been trending down, 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 down. So I think anything below 22, sorry, 240ish or something, I would be more concerned about. So the key line needs to be watched is 245. Right now it's 234. A relatively larger volume came in at 236. So if I wanted to play this one, I would be looking at anything above 236. If it happens to go above 236, I would be more interested in getting into. But I guess right now it's more like let's just wait and see and kind of stay out of this particular stock for a bit. But as I said, this could be interesting. It has been up over 6% this morning, so that on its own already a nice one. So right now it is at 236. So put actions behind the words. So let's have a alert at 238 to see how this one is working out. Next one, Kinross Gold started to go higher, and exactly 1020 would be the one I would be looking at. Right now it's 1022. The only trouble I have with this particular stock is that there were quite a few actions here around up until 1028. So whoever is trying to get in must be fully aware that the stock might be going sideways or hitting some sort of a resistance pretty much up until 1027, 1028. So this is one of those stocks right now, the way it looks, to keep everything in check, keep it cool, and don't get too greedy. FM up to over 2% today, and right now it's at 1240, 1245, 1246 will be more accurate. This would be the level I would be interested in getting in. So if I wanted to actually say, you know what, let's have some action. So I'm placing on the other screen an alert for 1248 to see how this one actually works out. Don't know. And this kind of a game, actually, you have to be fully aware that at times things don't work out the way you anticipate or you project. but sometimes it does. But in order to find out, you have to skin in the game, and that's just the way it goes with this kind of a game. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Again, like BTO, this one is also trending higher. So this is the second gold stock indicating positive uptick. So pretty good. I will be watching 750 for anything in terms of resistance. At 750, a larger volume actually is printed on my screen, so that would be something I would be watching relatively closely. PGM, I've been watching PGM for the past while. It hasn't really moved too much, and as you can see, there are a lot of volume prints starting pretty much here. So between 220 and 226, especially at 223, there are a lot of selling was going on. So that put a little bit of a pressure on the stock. And if you see that 223 was a previous high within this time frame since 11 o'clock. So keep in mind 223 is definitely ceiling for this one, at least for now. So I talked about gold stocks. ABX is one of the key gold players lately, above 37, which was a key point. And as you can see, that this is the line which has been playing some sort of a significance in this case. But I can see that 37.05, where there was a second largest volume print for this stock. Right now, ABX is right there, so it could be some sort of a little step back. But the way it looks right now, there's a more likely chance that it's going higher than lower. In the meantime, I got a notification from FM that it has reached 1248, which is great. So hopefully for the people holding this stock, the trend will continue on. Let's go to tech. Tech is above 1470. Awesome. Next level to watch is 1475. So this is could be a bit of a range bound play, especially if I'm looking at this one. 1470, it was a large volume print, and 1475 is also a large one. When you look at the chart formation, and I'm speaking about a large volume prints, it doesn't necessarily mean that the particular stock will for sure having some problems at certain price levels. Let's say in this case it's 1475. All I'm saying, so the message is that there is there's a possibility that at a certain level the stock may hit some sort of a turbulence, some resistance. Not sure, it's a likeliness. If you see VZLA, this resource stock has been at 238 going high, but I just realized the spread for VZLA is relatively large, 3 cents. So expect wild swings either direction. So after tech, we should move down to a different one called Lundin Mining. Awesome. That was huge, and I've talked about this one. At $8, it was a large number of shares exchanged hands. The stock currently above that. Very nice, very bullish sign. The only thing might be not so bullish, and maybe take a little shining of the star, a little bit of positiveness from this 805 right now, is that right now we are at today's high. Not necessarily, but sometimes it happens that today's high, the stock cannot go higher than the previous high of the day or within a certain time frame. Again, these statements are simply just suggestions, just an observation, which may or may not happen. So, and this is what I like to stress, and this is like to emphasize, that, let's say in this case for London mining, I'm saying that 805 was the highest of the day, so be careful. It doesn't mean that we have to be careful, be mindful more likely. So don't be careful, just be mindful that it may go higher, may not. The important message here is that each and every single moment is unique. So if the stock, in this case, happens to be finding a resistance at 805, it doesn't mean that in any time in the future the same situation will happen, because every moment, as we talked about, is unique in trading and anywhere at any point in life. Dollarama, very, very interesting, very, very interesting. A few minutes before 1 o'clock, there was a very large volume of stocks exchanged hands at 45.60. So since then, obviously, the stock started going higher and continued to go higher. So if I'm just slightly changing the, if I can actually find it, let's go this way. Where is my cursor? The cursor is here. So if I go back to here for you to see that since 1 o'clock or before 1 o'clock, when actually this huge volume print took place, there was barely any transaction, but the stock still managed to get from 60 to almost to from 45.60 to almost 46, which is a very large move in this case, which kind of begs the question to explain that oftentimes when someone sees a large volume print like this, maybe it's worth to have a few $1,000s at stake and buy some shares, and let's see how it works out. Imagine that all those people who happen to purchase around 45.70 and they were able to sell it around here, they are pretty much picked up some free money, as free as it gets in trading. Another gold play, and I've noticed this before, that between 604 and 610 IMG had a lot of volume. In this case, because of the gold prices are going higher, as you were able to see from BTO and Yamana, this is another example that more often than not the stocks can go higher if the underlying commodity, if this is a resource stock, if the underlying commodity happens to be on the upswing. So in this case, worked out really well for IMG. Staying with the precious metals, FR, very noticeable at 1431, huge volume kicked in, and that is expected to have a significance for the day. Key level also at 1420, and this is what we're actually, based on the current state, this is where we're kind of heading to. Right now the stock is at 1417, which is above the another large print, which was probably around 1415, 1416. So right now the current price is above that relative high. This is one of those things when actually I can see, wait and see. When I look at the 1 minute chart, it definitely is hitting some moving average as we're looking at. Right now, actually, the stock has moved about a penny higher, so it's right now at 1418. Not too shabby. We'll see how it works out. Right now, it's the likeliness of going higher is higher than going lower. But as always in trading, keep everything in mind, keep everything in check. So we'll get back to this one later. HBM is at 446. Lot of volumes on the screen. The good news for the bulls, that if I can say that, it is above relatively large volume prints, very positive. But when I look at the 1 minute chart, I can see a little bit of a potentially suppressing effect around 447. There's one more moving average line print, which can have a little bit of a impact on the stock going higher. Another gold player. Yeah, so with this one, this is just a touch below 1394, where pretty much the third largest volume print can be found. It definitely had better chances of entry. Right now it's wait and see. Yeah, I would be a little bit cautious to get in if I trying to get into this stock or add more to my existing allocation to AGI. So right now it's 1394. Let's just stay with this one for a bit to see how this one works out. So there was a move and there was a couple of shares exchanged hands at 1394, but almost immediately it bounced off and had stayed at 1393. Don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, this is one of those things we don't know. And again at 94, I guess we are testing the water. We are trying to actually find out how high the stock can go. Just looking at back VZLA, remember that it went up to 238, and right now is at 230. FM is a penny below where our notification, where our alert was at 1247. So things are working fine. Tech Resources at 1473, so it didn't go above that level. FR, as we recall, we talked about 1418, so it didn't really move too much. And right now AGI couldn't really handle the 94 large volume print, and in fact now it's 3090, which is lower than it was before. Moving on to BLDP, darling lately of the New York and the Toronto stock exchanges. This one is a little bit messy, but what gives me clarity is that this is above 2780 and 2778, which was a bit of a large volume print. So all these volumes showing me that kind of a selling pressure is more, or liquidation of stocks is happening right now. 2740, 142 should be a support. We're kind of far from that one, but look, the time is 1:17, so anything can happen. Right now it's more likely that it is going lower than higher, but we are just hitting the green line, which more often than not can be potentially mean some sort of an important line to watch. On the 1 minute chart, again, this is very much of the congregation of different moving averages, which, you know, it, again, for me, this is the place I don't want to get into, because different programs can have different kind of meanings, and that may trigger some action and reactions. So right now I wouldn't really get into BLDP because this isn't really my cup of tea. So let's go back to the, because I pressed the wrong button. BLDP, yeah, ECN 425. Currently the price is above that, so this is not bad. ATD, it moved up very nicely, I might add. I think this is, the volume is really nicely picking up, getting closer to 45 and 44.98, which probably a key level for this particular stock to stay above for the bulls. Relatively tight range compared to the today's range, and the tight range I'm referring to is between 44.99.98 and 45.20. So the tight range I'm referring to is pretty much about 20 cents. So if the stock happens to stay above $45 and it happens to go higher and higher, maybe there's a better chance for the stock to, or the people getting into the stock, to make a few bucks here and there. No guarantees though, but it's, the possibility is out there for anybody to jump into. Not very meaningful chart for NDM, so I don't want to talk about that one. KNT also, yeah, it looks like the PGM chart, but right now, what this chart is telling me, that there was a lot of selling coming in, a lot of activities around 475, and the largest volume print was at 480. So this is definitely not the point I'd like to get into. Again, this is not a guarantee that the stock will go lower, but there are a lot more work needs to be done to have the stock to go higher. Even though it's right now at 477, I would be more cautious, but you know, whatever actually works for you. Right now it's in an uptrend, so if you happen to have some sort of determination to play KNT, I'm not going to stop you. But what I can actually advise you to have alerts. So if the stock happens to go below 475, then I would be more inclined to start scaling back or getting out, because probably that was this around this level. This is where the ceiling is kind of built up. Well, it was doing really well earlier in the morning up until 10:50, when actually it started going lower, and it has been stuck between, you know, by and large between in a 5-cent range, between $2.95 and $3. Based on the chart, there was larger activity around $3. So if at any reason I wanted to get into this stock, I would put an alert at 301, and let's see how it goes. But definitely anything up until above 310, it will be something I will be more concerned that the trend may not continues on. So I don't know, maybe we're getting into the stocks which don't mean much based on the look and feel, but this is let's look at the large price gains. FD, and which is not a fire department, I hope. Huge volume at $20, and since then it continues to go higher and higher and higher. It has been having some sort of a challenge to go above 20.50. So right now it's on the uphill. We'll see how that works. That one goes. I would rather stay right now. It may have a couple of more cents in it. Very well, especially because it's above 2020. But I think the spread is too wide for my taste. So probably I wouldn't go for this one. Skip this one. Going back to this VZLA. Recall I mentioned that the stock has moved from 238 to down to 230, and now it's back to 235. So this is what I mean by a range play. So as long as you see what's going on and what the potential ranges can be, you can benefit very, very nicely from it. So in this particular case, there are prints at 250, 245, 235, and 230. So when the stock happened to hit 230 and started moving back up again, maybe that was a good chance for people to scalp a few cents. But right now it's 235, and now it's 234 more accurately. Definitely can be a challenge for the stock. look at the spread, probably it's still around 3 cents, which is relatively high for this one, but we'll see how that works out. I don't think it's extremely large volumes can be expected from VZLA, but we'll see. We talked about BOSS. Ola, over 4% increase today, but less than 200,000 shares. Nothing. HBM we talked about. So all of these stocks we already talked about. And let's go to the not so fortunate ones. TUD. Yeah. So in this particular case, I would watch for 240. Right now, 235 downtrend. I don't think I would be interested in getting into because of the because of the volume and the shares. MTY yesterday was a huge winner of the day. Today it's giving back a lot. Right now it's at 29 even, and that could be, you know, one of those levels I would be watching if I wanted to be more interested in. Okay, nobody's here. So if you were to ask me if this is the right time to get into MTY, probably I would be asking why. But based on the volume prints, I would say cautiously, yes, it would make sense to get in. This would be one of those things I wouldn't be keen on getting into, especially because the red line pretty much crossed the blue one. So probably no, but in a world when you always trying to get the all technicals and all indicators to point one direction, like to buy something, is not going to happen. So cautiously I would say that it might be a good one to get into, and since, you know, this is, you know, pretty much like rolling the dice, so let's see how it works. Maybe it's worth to try. This one is definitely, oh, it's an interesting chart and it's really good to talk about. Range developed, obviously, or potential range between 680 and 685. I don't think you can make a fortune on this one, especially because the low volume. But if you happen to, if you totally disregard the number of shares exchanged hands so far, and if you want to scalp, you can get a few cents out of this one if you play between the 680 685 range. Nothing that's moving on. It's all small ones. EDV, I don't know why EDV is so beaten up. But anyways, let's look at it. And this is where, if I were to look for opportunities, 34 is probably would be the level to get into. But here you go. You asked the question, but that approximately 16 cents from where the current price print actually shows me. So what to do in this case? Let's suppose the stock happens to go higher from here. What price would you think it's worth to get into the stock? And the answer is I don't know. But if it happens to start printing about 33.86, I would be tempted to get in, provided I want to desperately getting into. Right now is 33.88, very nice number. So I would be getting into, having probably a 2-3 cent alerts adjusted as the stock goes higher and higher. And if any point it starts sounding alerts, I would be more inclined to sell it. So this is a cautious approach. So let's say from 88 it goes to 89, 90, and so on and so forth. I would use alert 2-3 cents from the from the highest price print. So when the stock happens to go lower and it starts hitting my alerts, I would change my stance on the stock accordingly. So maybe I would be considering selling instead of keeping and potentially maybe hoping that this is gonna might turn around. In this case, we're lucky because when I started mentioning this one, it was around 33.84, and now it's jumped up to 33.98, which is huge. I don't see the bids and asks, so I couldn't really speak for that one. But right now, I would be considering getting out of the stock because it's a healthy gain of I don't know, 98 minus 84. You do the math, but now it's 34.05, so keeps going higher. Perfect opportunity to put a trailing stop on this one. But if you don't use a trailing stop, you have to keep adjusting it. Right now it's 34.10. So I can definitely see that EDV is one of those crazy stocks, which actually can jump very, very, very noticeably either way. Right now, the price print shows 13 for 13.12. So let's stick around here a little bit to talk about how this one actually works out. Right now, it's 34.15. So remember, we're discussing getting into it at 85, so 84. So obviously, so those alerts are long gone, and they have no meaning. They have nothing to do with the current state. So if I were to use the alert system, I would be putting it around 34.10, 34.09, 08, and definitely use the stop loss order accordingly, because I don't necessarily want to risk that this little puppy turns around and goes to the other direction. Right now we're at 34.16. Yeah, if we were to play this one earlier, we would have a healthy profit on this stock. Obviously, right now we are discussing and we are experimenting, so this is what we have to keep in mind. So next level to watch is 34.20, which is probably the third largest volume print. Never thought that I'm going to stay with EDV this long, but based on how it works out, it is definitely interesting. So these are the ones actually I wanted to mention it to you. When you look at the chart, it shows that the stock was on the downhill and it had the slightest chance of turning around, especially this fast. Turned out to be quite surprising. So let's be happy about the moment and wait for the action, which can actually take up a good couple of minutes or maybe half an hour, I don't know. Right now it is at 34.20, so we're talking about very, very handsome gains so far. But based on the range, you can see that the range is going between 33.40 and 35.50, let's say, which is huge. This is what gives the day traders the edge and the adrenaline rush, and more importantly, the change in P&L. I just want to stay here a little bit at this particular stock. An excellent opportunity to experience what's going on with this one. Yes, so we're talking about a 4-cent spread, 34.16 and 34.20. So it is definitely 34.19. So it's not right now is 3 cents. So it is definitely a key player to keep in mind, the spread between the bids and ask. And right now, immediately you can see the change in prices, because now it's 34.16, and that can have a huge impact on your perception of the possibility with any particular stock. So what I really like to draw your attention to is this particular session. Let me blow it up for you. I'm trying to actually find the cursor. I kind of lost the cursor. And you rightfully can ask, well, how can you lose a cursor? So anyways, the reason why I wanted to stop here is that the red line was under the blue line for an extended period of time. We talked about getting into this stock at 33, 84, 85. So the red line, it didn't go above the blue line for a very long period of time. And right now, if you were to wait until the red line is above the blue line, your opportunity to profit from this price move is not there. You need to, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about. I didn't have a chance because the stock has moved up very, very significantly. And let's just go back to the numbers again. So we were started looking at EDV at 33.84, and I just wanted to say that the difference between 84 and 00, which is, you know, we're talking about 16 cents. It's a lot of money to be left out. That's why I mentioned this having an alert, like in case of the alert, in case of EDV, 2 or even 3 cent alert system is not necessarily working fine because because the spread is just way too wide. So you have to kind of gauge what level you need to have, what kind of alert, how many cents below the current price you need to employ if the spread is, let's say, 3 cents or 4 cents. I personally don't like any gap, any spread between bids and ask. That gives me the best way to judge what the right alert price should be, and that's why when I have no spread between the bids and ask, I don't have anything in between, let's say a 1 cent or 2 cent gap. I like to use the 2 cent alert to the downside. It sounds complicated, and it is complicated. It works for me, and you have to have your own system for it, for the alerts you use. I don't want to get stuck with EDV for too long, but I just wanted to mention that, you know, this is an excellent way to see how it works. This one is pretty brutal. HNU. So natural gas. I remember that around 10:30-ish, when the energy department announces the natural gas numbers, and based on this, today there was a down day for natural gas stocks. Probably there was a buildup in stockpiles for natural gas, and it has been going consistently lower and lower and lower for a while. The red line was consistently below the blue one, and even right now, even these days, it doesn't really show that much of a strength. The only thing I can see, if it happens to go above, let's say, what is this, 10, 15, 10, 20, anything above 10, I would say 10:30-ish, where I would be start maybe feeling a little bit better getting into this one. So we're kind of far from that point, but yeah, I would say above 10:30 I would feel a little better getting into this one than right here, which again begs the question that, you know, there's 10.25, there's a large volume print, pretty much the second largest volume print at 10.25. So this is probably falling into that more like a gamble than anything anything serious. SIL, low volume, but it's worth to stop for a minute. The reason for stopping for a second is that there was a nice volume print, which is pretty much the third largest at 1240. So right now we are at 1242, and it is up to you if you're interested or not, but this is relatively speaking a bullish sign, or could be a bullish one, to get into. Obviously no guarantees whatsoever, and at 1248 there's another large volume print presented. It is more like wait and see at this point, and I would use definitely a strong exit point anything below 1238 or 37. We're talking about a 2 cent gap between bids and ask, so it's up to you. AMX, not interested. I need, not interested. CU, not really. So these are the good ones here. So VZLA, so we said 235, so it hasn't really moved a whole lot. 1245 for FM, so it has come down since we last time we talked about this. Tech Resources 71.72. Right now it is very close to 1470, which was pretty much one of the largest volume prints out there. So it is above that one. For this is better for the bulls, but not really convinced that this is the most amazing chart ever. And I just wanted to go back to EDV for a quick second to see how that one is doing. Right now it is above 34.23. So yeah, so that's about 40 cents, almost 40 cents between the we started talking about it. So this is how it works out for for trading. So it's a game, and you have to keep a lot of things into considerations, trying to make sure to capture the best moment and go with the flow. Don't fight the trend. A lot of people having some sort of a determination to prove that they are right and the market is wrong. It is much more convenient and a lot easier to go with the flow than against the flow. If you have ever tried rowing in a stream or in a river which is actually flowing with a relative speed, you should remember that it's so much easier and so much faster to go in the same direction as the river flows than against the flow. Same applies to trading as well. Don't fight the flow. Don't try to be a hero. Don't try to look for things that that you can brag about at a party, that you've been saying that a particular stock is going to be a superstar, and because you were such a superstar, you were able to actually predict it well before. Speaking of superstars, and this is where actually we're getting into that kind of a level. Speaking of nice movers of the day, don't know what this stock is, and very nice. Now let me just change the resize this one so it is properly shown. It's above 38%. Don't know why, don't know how. It is moving really nicely, and I'd like to stop for a minute here. The reason why I'm actually showing it to you is because it showed up in my on my volume radar, volume screener, if you wish, and it didn't make it to my watch list. It's bad on me. I don't think it actually made it to my watch list, but you can't really have favorite stocks which you always trade. You can, because at least you would intimately know that particular stock. So let's say you can keep trading MFC until nosebleeds. But if you really want to make some nice chunk of money, you have to have some sort of a screener in place which in real time alerting you about movers like CLSK. The move this stock has produced, especially compared to yesterday's close, and I don't know how the chart looks like for a larger, bigger time frame, but even today, even after 135, it has moved up so much that, and with a nice volume, I might add, it moves a lot. If I happen to look at the spread, is well, the spread isn't too bad. The spread is pretty good. So I think this would be one of those plays I'd love to get into. And let's just keep an eye on this one for a little while. So 423 was large volume nights. 427. This is one of those things you have to keep an eye on. And since we started talking about it, it was still above 430. Now it's under 430. Move from 423, now it's 425, 26, 27, and bounces around a lot. So this puppy is for the quick fingers. So it is better suited for the computers to make money off of, because for humans this is really hard to process all of the information flowing into your, pretty much like the avalanche of information pretty much hitting you at the same time, and it's hard to judge which one is more important. Keep an eye on 423 as a large volume print within a certain time frame. Obviously, when you look at the whole day, this one looks a lot scarier, and a lot more information is being presented to you. It doesn't really show the true depth of information. 419 has become a very, very important level. A lot of selling going on right now. It's the 418 tends to go lower. So yeah, it's now 417. So when I said it probably is going to go lower, it went up to 419, but the trend within the certain time frame probably is more to the downside than to the upside. So keep in mind that 419 was a large volume, pretty much the second largest volume within this particular time frame. Yeah, nice 420 to 421. Yeah, so if you were to be getting into it earlier now, okay, what to do? That's why computers are better, because they can make decisions faster, and they have a lot quicker fingers than we can have. So based on this one, it's more to the upside, but I don't know. So let's go more to the upside. Interesting, because right now it's 419 or 420. Okay, which way to go? Undecided. $21, $22. So maybe going higher. So that's probably my bet would be it potentially going higher. 21, 22, 23. Okay, 23 was a large volume print, so it's important that right now it's 24, 25, and 26. So nice move, but there's a huge jump between 24 to 27. So now it's 27, large print at 30. So that might be a little bit of a resistance. You don't know, I don't know. That's why this game is so unpredictable. Right now it's 427, 428, 25. So yeah, it seems like there's a bit of a selling going on every single time when it hits larger numbers like 28, 27, 28. There are large volumes were exchanging hands, but right now it's still showing positive. A lot of activity at 26. Don't know if this is more like selling or intentional buying or selling. 28, 29, 30. Okay, 32. So we had a move roughly from 19 to 34. Very nice. Selling, 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 but buying. Nice 35. So it's, but from 35 it goes down to 31. So with this particular stock at this particular time, this is about selling and making large moves. As long as it stays above 430, this should be okay. 31, 30. This is about crossing, yeah. So 28. So probably it would be nicer to get out from here, 20, 29. Yeah, so you could stay in here, but I would be getting out from this one because I don't know which way it goes. Even if it goes higher, you know what? I made a decision to get out. So for me, that would be probably 12-cent profit, which would be very, very nice. So moving very nicely, very 35, 38. So this is this thing actually I said that it would be nice to just get out, but you can't have that kind of a rule, or you could have a rule. And now let me just go back to another important thing. If you happen to stop that, or if you happen to get out from a stock, like in cases like this, when it went up to 436 and at 430 you decided to get out because that was a spot for the red line to cross the blue from above, you could have an alert to the upside as well, and in this case would be around 432, 433, because the volume prints, and for me that kind of signals that above that was better chances of going higher than lower. But of course, in retrospect, it's super easy to be so smart. And of course, at this time, in this case, I would put an alert for 435, not 433, because I need to make sure that it goes higher than some prior significant level. Yeah, down to 424, 27, 26. So yeah, so by and large, after move like this, what we saw from 418 to 436, and we got out, theoretically speaking, at 430. That was a good 12-cent gain on the stock, which, you know what, I would be, super happy to pocket that within, 145 for 148 until 149. So pretty much maximum 3 minutes. So that's why it's very hard to think about that. In 3 minutes you can easily make $100, which it's a pretty good hourly rate. The downside of this whole thing is that you won't be able to actually make that $100 in every 3 minutes, because there are days and there are times when things don't work out for your advantage. Now, going back to CLSK, 430, still a very key level to watch, and 427, 427. So we're bouncing between 27 to 430. Slow down. Everybody needs indication which way the stock will go. So the smart money is trying to actually just stay out of it. If they happen to be in the stock, then they're not going to do anything. So interesting thing, that's why I stopped, because there was a 427 was a key level and larger print than 430, meaning that there was a lot of activity at around 427. And this is not a highway I was referring to, but in Toronto. Yeah, so right now it seems like there was a selling at 427. People were trying to, or that people were, let's say people were trying to get out of this. Yeah, so again, don't know what's going on here. I would say I would need definitely alert anything above 432 to the upside, and let's say 424 to the downside. Again, 430. For some reason, 430 has a significance for this particular stock. Yeah, so we would be getting an alert in this case. So that would be probably any moving in. 32. Right now it's 434 down to 31. You have to have a very good stomach to not to get too much drawn into this game. So 433. So I was saying getting in around 432. Yeah, it more inclined to say a bit of a selling going on, but let's just keep everything in check. 430 should be alert. If it happens to hit 430, then I might be more interested and more inclined to sell instead of holding. 33, 34, 32 moves a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is the big question comes in whether it's loading up or liquidating at 430. For me, it looks like liquidating, but you never know. Yeah, probably liquidating. I have 50-50 chance as usual with trading. Yeah. So I said the word liquidating, and this is more likely the case, at least for the short time. Again, 427. So for some reason there are a lot of activities at 427. Yeah. Don't know why 427 has such a significance in this for this stock at this particular time, but a lot going on at 427. Still, still, yeah. I mentioned 430 to get into. That wasn't the best time, but I think it was better to get out than stay in a losing trade. And had we purchased something at 432 and not sold at 430, 427, 20, 28, 29, I don't know where the price would have been. Anyways, this is just interesting how um, a stock can go fast, fast, fast. ALT. Oh, this is another good one. All right. Yeah, going back to VZLA, and it seems like it's getting stuck between 235. And what I can see, what I can tell based on what I see right now is that the range play is definitely in play. I was trying to actually get something better to say about that. But since we've been looking at this particular stock, and I've noted that there's a potential for range play. So what it means that a few probably computers are buying and selling between 230 to 235. So buying at 230 and selling at 235. I want to look at EDV just for a quick second, not because I'm trying to actually justify anything. I'm just very curious. So last time we saw EDV, it was around 34.20, which probably the third largest print for this stock. It hasn't really moved too much ever since. SU, well, Suncor is been on the downhill for a couple of days now, and these days are not the best for the oil stocks. Right now is at 21.31, and it's 2 o'clock. And the reason why I'm saying all these things not because I want to make a announcement about the time, but we're getting close to 2:30, which time the oil is closed for the day. And as we're getting closer to 2:30, there might be some activities for the oil stocks. Might be, might not be. It always depends on many things. I think Suncor is also a natural gas player, and as we saw, the natural gas ETF didn't really do too much to the upside, and I guess oil stocks and especially natural gas stocks followed the same pattern. Based on the volume prints, I can see 2140, 142 was a large volume print. Right now the stock is at 31, and I think as later part of the range plays can be more important. So if I wanted to get into SU, probably this will be around here, 21.31, preferably getting it at 30 than 31. And let's see if it moves closer to 40, and try to sell it with a healthy gain, not really pushing my luck. Excuse me, not really pushing my luck. It's very very iffy play, and it's more like rolling the dice. I'm not saying it is less than 50-50 chance for making money, but you never know. There are some volume prints between here and 40, and those can have an impact on how the stock behaves. So moving on to something else, our little friend ABX. We talked about the ABX actually before, and I mentioned that around 37.10 was or 37, sorry, 37 was an interesting point, and right now it is at 37.24. So very 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 healthy gain, but it's not, it didn't happen without a fight or without some sort of a sideways moves. But definitely these are the key points I want to mention, that when you see something like a 3710, and from that you see sort of like a steps going higher and higher in terms of the volume prints, and if the price prints following in the same manner, that usually means a positive thing for the prospects that the stock will continue to go higher and higher. So right now, ABX at 37.24, a little bit lower than, you know, we've been watching this moves. So ABX known to make nice moves, and if I just look to the right side, 37.20 was a key level for ABX to stay above, and currently it is above 37.20. If I really wanted to discuss my views and my take on alerts, right now is 37.27. I would put an alert, I would say at depending on where my entry was, but I would definitely say at 3 cents below the highest price. So 27 minus 4 is probably, we're talking about 24 right now, since it moved up to 28. Right now it's 27, but let's just say the alert should be at 25. So 37.25. What that would mean that I would be considering maybe getting out, but it's only just a consideration, not really a necessity. Yeah, this is where it really gets a little and hard to judge, because in this particular activity called trading, you have to make a decision, especially day trading. You have to make a decision, whatever you feel, whatever you think at any given time. And I would say I'd be rather cautious with this one, but based on the current trend that ABX is continuously going higher, I would be keeping it 28. So it didn't hit the 3 cents. That's why knowing the stocks you are trading as a day trader is definitely a good strategy. Another good strategy. Because if you happen to know how ABX is moving on a daily basis, different parts of the day, obviously, because you've been watching this a good couple of sessions, you would know that probably after moving from a key level, the alert should be maybe 3 cents from the highest point. Because what it means that if it happens to fall 3 cents and it hits the alert, that's when you will be start considering getting out of the stock. Right now, in this case, it's 37.25. So when you blow up the this time frame and you see that it's kind of start to lose steam, but it's still, I'm just trying to actually get my cursor back. It's harder to work with this one, but I got the cursor. So in this case, you see that it hit 25, but almost immediately it went back to 27. And in this case, you need to make sure that you pay attention to these little signs. So I would definitely keep an eye on 25 as a low point, and it's an alert, so you would be able to actually do something. You can take some action if it happens to hit that level. So it's still bouncing around between 26, 27. Sometimes it goes up to 28, and that's really positive for this one for now. And in terms of action, I think overall gold stocks slowed down significantly in the past few minutes. So don't expect anything super action from this stock. 37.25. Good, good, good. When I look at the little chart, the red line is still above the blue one, very positive. Right now, the price prints are below the blue line. So in terms of how this actually works out in my strategy, this is more of a negative tone to the upside. So I would be more inclined to sell it, or considering selling it, especially because right now it's at 37.24. So yeah, it's a bit of a selling pressure right now. It's more evident. So if you were to play the blue line crossing, this would be probably the case of considering getting out of this stock. So, which in this case, it didn't really provide a huge gain, but now it has crossed. But I would be more interested in getting out of the stock if I were to play that game. If I were to consider playing the green line crossing, then I would be watching 37.22, and I would be holding on to it. Yes, the green line crossings. Oh, there was a huge volume print before. Why did it just show up? Oh, okay. 25 is a large volume print. Okay, now we're getting more interesting here. Yeah, 25, 26, large volume were exchanged hands. 26. Yes, let's just keep an eye on this one. Yeah, 26 again. So 25, based on the latest volume prints, are a crucial part of this particular stock, ABX. We're still at the ABX. 26. We're seeing more selling, more buying coming in. And as you can see in here, 37.25 is a line from one of the moving averages. I can take a look at closer which one that is. Probably which one is that? Doesn't matter. 37.25. So it is getting closer to that level where a lot of shares were exchanged hands. Yeah, this is exciting. Maybe it doesn't seem exciting to you. So but we have to keep in mind that the green line is at 37.22 and it has moved down to 23. So the large volume prints and increases you saw, those were actually related to more of a selling going on. Now 37.22. So yeah, definitely it is more selling. So if you were to play the green line crossing methodology, which it would have been a very nice profitable supposition and proposition 21, this would have been considering the exit from here. The red line hasn't really crossed the green one. Probably if it happens to hit 20, that would be the time for you to consider getting out. Yeah, so probably this will be the time, this will be the price level I would be suggesting getting out of this one, because it doesn't make much sense to holding on to it for much longer. So let's just wait a few minutes to see how this works out. I'm curious to see. So 37.19, it is definitely onto the downside. But if you look at the brighter side of things, which you should in life in general, but especially in trading, it has reached to that level where you should be probably considering getting out. Switching over to something we weren't looking at, it is called Air Canada. Air Canada is one of those stocks which sometimes worth to get into. Sometimes it's better to just not even considering playing with it, especially for day trading. Today is down by about 2.6%, and just a few things about the stock and about the chart. There's a huge volume print, started at 1609, continued at 1610. So if the selling pressure continues on, which is a likely scenario based on the 1 minute chart and the chart currently displayed on the upper section on the right side, it shows that it has better or more likely chance of going lower than higher. The only good thing that it has closed above 16, or right now is above 16.15, and maybe that provides a bit of a support. Slow down significantly, so you don't really see a lot of activities going on with this one. Yeah, it's wait and see. Right now, nothing else you can do but wait and see. What I've noticed and what I've experienced with AC in terms of day trading, that it can have the spread can increase significantly when during a heightened activity for the stock. So it's wait and see. Just don't fall asleep. And in cases like this, what you should be doing is that, yeah, this may be a point to get in. Yeah, when it goes down to 16.14 from 16.15, it's only a penny. But I suppose you are kind of compelled to do something with this one, then you might be considering buying it. And if it happens to go lower, then you just take the loss and you just move on to the next one. But you don't know if actually it turns around and it goes higher. So for me, the key levels to watch is 1609 and probably 1601 to the downside, and to the upside probably, because it is close to 1620, I would be watching 1620 as well. Based on the chart right now, I would say it is more likely that it will go lower than higher. So another darling, and let's go back to BLGP. It was moving very, very erratically in the past while. So last time we saw it was around 28. Right now it's 28.19. So it has bounced up significantly in the past few minutes, and I think in the past few trading days, since BLDP was very, very popular, I think partly because of the day traders both in the US and in Canada started playing with this one, but even swing traders which were drawn into owning or trading the stock got handsomely compensated for their efforts. So right now it's 28.19, marching higher still very nicely. If I look at the all the other chart components on the 1 minute chart, it shows that it is above a key exponential moving average line. So moved up to 23 right now, down to 20, which is not a huge move, but this is always depends on your entry point. When your entry point is right where it is, and if the stock happens to move down by 3 cents or 4 cents, it might be too much for your risk appetite. So those are the moments when you start thinking, oh, maybe I should get out. You don't necessarily have to get out if you have a certain time frame in mind. You may be more willing to accept the price move, which is not your number one priority. What I mean that your usual price, your risk for appetite is, let's say, 3 cents. So if it happens to move 4 cents, you emotionally you start thinking, oh, this is too much, I can't handle it, and this is not cool. And if you look at BLDP right now, the latest price shows 28.11. So in night 08. So this is when the emotions take over most of the time. And I have to go back to the one of the previous price prints when it showed 28.23, and right now 28.09. So in a case of 1,000 shares, that's already a significant amount of money if you happen to get in, let's say, at 20. So you would be down significantly, because right now the price print is 28.07. So if the stock is moving more than your risk appetite can tolerate, and I wanted to use the word tolerate versus accept, then maybe BLDP, using this one as an example, is not your stock to play with. Then you may consider getting into something a little more manageable. CGX, wow, this is one of those things I really wanted to discuss. If you look at the current price level, which is 852, that is probably almost in halfway between 850 and 855. I don't really have to be a mathematician to come up with that statement. So, what is really important, that right now 852 and 855, those are the two key price levels having the largest volume within this time frame. And if you look at the chart, that CGX has been moving sideways since 1245. It's a long enough time for a stock to getting in stock in a range. So it might be worth considering getting into if this is what you were thinking. However, the price right now is 851, so there's a less of a chance to get into this one. So if you're interested in a trade in this particular stock, then I would be using an alert, which would be at 855 to the upside and maybe 849 to the downside. This is one theory. The other theory is that, as you can see, the stock has been bouncing between 850 and 855, which is 5 healthy cents. So if you happen to place a buy order at 850, which you should be able to feel right now, which is the price right now is 849, with an anticipation that the the stock will continue to turn around and go up to 855, you should be able to pocket a very nice cent, 3 4 cents easily. And if you happen to have, let's say, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 shares purchased, that would be, a nice healthy gain. And if you keep doing it over and over and over and over again, that will nicely add up. As I said, we are getting close to the closing the oil markets in New York. So CNQ is sort of like getting stuck, and this is one of those wave formations I was referring to. So let's just investigate. Let's just evaluate this one a little longer. So you can see that there was a couple of waves starting from 2210 and finishing around 2225, and that's a pretty nice, healthy range. So that started happening at 1250, went all the way into 110, came down from 110 all the way to 152 around the 2210 range, and now it's up again. If you happen to notice this kind of a wave formation, then you might be able to capitalize on it by buying it at the lower range, like in the case of this example at 22. So that might be a good way to make some money. It's as always in trading, it's no guarantee, but I can guarantee you that computers and humans alike, at least the trained ones, the ones looking scanning for this kind of a chart formation, we'll get into and we'll try to find things like this. And if you again you look at the numbers, CNQ is a highly traded stock. So if you happen to get let's say 1,000 shares, and you make, let's say, 10 cents each time, that would be something to consider. So going back to C and Q, in this particular case, the wave play isn't necessarily. I'm here.